Good evening, Greencastle, and welcome back to another episode of Tiger Sports Nation. I'm Drew Cosgray.
And I'm Francisco Avila. This week, the Tigers set off on yet another round of great competition. But before we get into the details, be sure to give us a follow on all our social media accounts and give us a like, share, or comment on the video below.
You heard him. We'll kick things off with DePauw softball, who took care of business, going 4-1 in their 5 games played throughout the week. They started off with a sweep of Milliken by scores of 5-4 and 11-2. The Tigers were supported with strong performances all around, with junior Cammie Henry tossing 13 strikeouts in the first win, paired with multiple hits by Paige Price, Grace Smith, and Drew Bratcher. DePauw would later sweep 22nd-ranked Tryon as well, with scores of 1-0 and 7-2. Cammie Henry set the DePauw non-extra inning game record for strikeouts in the first game as she tossed 14 Ks in the win while only allowing 3 hits. DePauw would suffer their first loss on Sunday to Wittenberg 5-4, as the Tigers now sit at 12-1 overall and rank 7th in the country.
The DePauw baseball team competed in 3 games this week, all against third-ranked Wash U. The Tigers were unable to defeat the Bears as they dropped their doubleheader by scores of 12-1 and 10-0, followed by another 9-4 loss in St. Louis. The Tigers moved to 7-6 overall as they look ahead to next week, where they will face off against North Central in Illinois.
DePauw's tennis team also traveled to Wash U this week, where the men's team fell to the Bears 9-0, followed by a 7-2 loss for the women's team. Both teams hope to improve in the next few weeks, as the DePauw's men's team currently sits at 0-2, while the women hold a record of 1-4.
The Tigers' outdoor track and field teams opened their seasons on the road as DePauw traveled to Terre Haute to compete in the Rose-Hulman Early Bird Meet. The women's team finished first overall with 171 points, as the Tigers tallied a total of 7 first-place finishes among the runners. The men's team finished third with 100 points to go along with 4 first-place finishes.
Men's and women's soccer traveled to Indianapolis this week to face Marian University. The men's team would tie their first game versus the Knights, while they dropped the second match 0-1. The women's team would be defeated by the Knights in their lone match by a score of 5-1. The women's team now hold a record of 0-2-2, while the men's team currently sits at 2-1-1.
The women's lacrosse team competed in their home opener this week as they defeated Transylvania University 16-15 in a narrow victory. The Tigers held a slight lead going into the half 6-5 and traded goals throughout the second, with each team putting up 10 goals each. Leading the Tigers once again in goals was Grace Clark, who finished the night with 6 goals and 2 assists. Teammates Tori Salanti and Emma Kennedy also added 3 goals apiece. This was the Tigers' first home win of the 2021 season and second win overall, as women's lacrosse faces off against Ohio Wesleyan next.
Both the men's and women's golf team traveled to Denison this week for a matchup against the Big Red. The 18th-ranked women's golf team would fall to the Big Red 328-350, while the men's team was also defeated 291-320, despite strong performances by senior Jacob Kelber, as well as Paige Sanfilippo and Sydney Weiner. The men's team would later compete in the Mount St. Joseph Spring Invite in Oxford, Ohio, and the Tigers finished second overall among 12 teams. DePauw shot a 2-round .592, while Ohio Dominicans sealed the victory with 589. DePauw's own Kendra Jones won the individual title, shooting a 143 over 2 rounds with a total of 9 birdies. He was followed by a 13th place finish by junior James Gilmore and an 18th place finish by Jacob Kelber. DePauw faces Ohio Wesleyan next at the Oak Haven Golf Club in Delaware, Ohio.
Before we get into the football game, here's a quick commercial from DePauw Athletics.
Hey, you got a pen?
Oh, yeah, here you go.
Sweet.
Welcome back, Tiger Sports Nation. Last but not least, the DePauw football team capped off their 2021 season with a commanding 41-7 victory over Greenville. DePauw would go in the half with a 20-7 lead, led by quarterback Chase Andrews, as well as multiple playmakers on both sides of the ball. DePauw would continue their dominance in the second half and win the game 41-7.
This game would prove personal for the graduating class, who looked to conclude their season on a high note and their last time playing in the black and gold. Senior Charlie Gruner added 2 interceptions in the game, while senior Josh Pottebaum would add one of his own as well. Gruner and Nathan Seifert each totaled 8 tackles, with Seifert, Joe Zonka, and Cole Baker recording 1 sack apiece. Senior quarterback Chase Andrews finished 14 of 26 for 180 yards, passing to go along with 86 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. DePauw would officially finish their 2021 season with a 3-0 record.
And that's going to conclude this episode of Tiger Sports Nation. We want to thank everybody for watching, and remember to give us a follow on all our social media accounts. I'm Francisco Villa.
And I'm Drew. And as always,
Roll Tigs.